Also, as we age, our muscles take a hit as well. We lose that quick, fast, strong muscle fiber that we have as 15 to 30-year-olds, and we start to go into more of a slower, less powerful muscle fiber. But as you can see later on, we'll talk about how we can change that. Moving on to like general wellness. So there's studies out there that say that 75% of people attribute poor sleep to just a lack of exercise. So sleep is so important, and Courtney lets me know about that almost every night when she's getting into bed at 8:30 and I'm complaining about that. But it is very important, and it's something that our body needs to be at its highest level of function. Also, so kind of touching base on some of that cardiac stuff that we were just talking about. So nearly half of every American has some form of cardiac disease. And top 5 risk factors, according to like our CDC, the American CDC, is diabetes, obesity, unhealthy diet, physical inactivity, and excessive alcohol use. So top 4 are like exactly linked to a lack of exercise. The alcohol use is maybe not so much, but the other 4 are pivotal in our like journey in fitness. We have to continue that fitness journey to kind of mitigate all that stuff. And then finally, touching on mental health, kind of like Courtney did just a moment ago. Especially with COVID, everybody's spending time at home. Mental health illness is on the rise, but there are studies out there that show that exercise can reduce anxiety, depression, and many other things. So it's been shown to improve our quality of life, not only physically, but mentally. And then finally, and I'm gonna throw some numbers at you here, so bear with me, but this like chronic reliance on the medical system is honestly kind of mind-blowing. So 43% of Americans, almost half, have some form of chronic pain. And that's by far the most on the planet of any country that tracks that kind of stat. So the United States makes up less than 5% of that world population, but we consume 80% of the opioid supply. So we not only take like tons of these opiates and we rely on them so much, but we're basically preventing the rest of the world from having an opioid crisis because we are like hogging them all. And there are so many pain relieving aspects of exercise that if we would just make ourselves as strong and as fit as we can be, we could decrease our reliance on that and decrease chronic pain, and truthfully make a huge impact on our lives. So this last little thing here too is really increasing reliance on, or we have an increased reliance on imaging and surgery, so x-rays, MRIs, and surgeries that we don't always need. We've done some research of our own and looked at some articles out there that say that people that have these like little tiny rotator cuff tears or knee injuries, the first option we always think of is let's have surgery. But there's evidence out there that says over half the time we don't even need surgery. We can just build up the muscles surrounding those joints, and we have the same outcomes as we would if we would have a $30,000, $40,000 surgery. So all that stuff sounds scary, but we wanted to kind of hammer home that exercise isn't just about being the guy that's like ripped at the beach looking good for everybody. It impacts every single one of us in so many different ways. So all that stuff sounds really scary, but it is all fixable. And if you've tuned into the title of the presentation tonight, it's all back to exercise and personal fitness.
Okay, so a little bit going off of what he said, talking about all the different benefits. So this is just a long list of different things that the health benefits of exercise and how it can directly improve like the small metabolic and physiologic functions of the body. And so with exercise, it delays all-cause mortality. So studies and research show that fitter people live longer. People that are healthier, they live longer because they have less comorbidities to go along with it. It lowers your blood pressure. It improves the lipoprotein profile and other biomarkers. And so what that is that's basically like cholesterol and the LDL, the HDL, and what kind of fat you have basically stored in like your arteries, basically. And enhances insulin sensitivity. So what that means is so that lowers your risk of being like pre-diabetic or having diabetes. So So that way your body can uptake insulin better when you consume glucose, meaning like carbs and sugar and stuff. Increases in fat-free mass. So having more muscle leads to a higher metabolic rate in the body. You can keep off less fat, have more muscle, and then you're in better shape that way. Improves metabolism, cardiovascular health, kind of like what Cory said. Preserves bone mass and reduces the risk of falling, because as we age, we do have a higher risk of osteopenia and osteoporosis, losing bone mass as we age, just because we're not eating as much, we're not as active, we're not loading the bone, through exercise as much. So we have that risk of losing bone mass as we age. And then obviously with that, we lose balance, we lose proprioception of our joints in space. And so, we have a higher risk of falling too. So going to the gym and preserving bone mass and, working on your stability and your mobility and your balance in the gym can help, reduce your risk of falling later on. Also, it prevents and improves mental health illnesses. Like Cory mentioned, like there's a huge rise in mental health illnesses right now that we're seeing with COVID. People are stuck at home and they're not able to go to the gym, or they're afraid to go outside or, converse in public because of COVID. So, a lot of people use the gym, especially myself, and like I know Cory does too. Like it's an outlet for, mental clarity and keeping us sane, basically. And so, especially through PT school, when we were in PT school, like we worked out all the time because that was the way to relieve stress. So exercise has been proven to reduce anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses. And then also it enhances natural energy. So with us, we don't consume a lot of caffeine, but we work out a lot. And so he's kind of still does in the morning, but enhances natural energy. And so the more we work out, the better I feel, really. I have energy all day long, and I don't have to rely on a lot of cups of coffee to keep me rolling throughout the day, because my body feels good when I exercise. And then with the last thing, improves cognitive function as well. And so a lot of people who are more active, they have more mental clarity, they're less in that brain fog state, they're less fatigued. That kind of goes with that natural energy. The more energy you have, the higher your brain is functioning, and you have that like less brain fog, forgetfulness, and loss of memory, things like that. The next slide here. So now we'll kind of talk about building an exercise program based on the ACSM weekly recommendations. And so the ACSM is the American College of Sports Medicine, and they give out, recommendations of what you should be doing for exercise weekly. So with this busy chart here, we'll kind of break it down.
Yeah, so it looks kind of complicated, but it's really not. This is just kind of like basic principles to keep in mind. Can you get that? Thank you. So, like I said, basic principles. This isn't necessarily like everybody has to adhere to this. It's just something to throw out there so that you guys and we have guidelines on like, hey, we've studied this for however long this entity has been around, and we found that this is the way to kind of maximize personal fitness. So starting with frequency, how many times we exercise per week. So greater than or equal to 5 days per week of moderate intensity aerobic exercise. So aerobic, we're talking about like the cardiovascular endurance type stuff. Hopping on the treadmill, hopping on a trail run, whatever you decide to do, just getting that heart rate up, elevated and moving, getting a little bit of sweat in. I think it should be greater than 2 days per week of resistance exercise, but their guidelines say greater than or equal to 2 days of resistance training. Personally, I find that a little bit low. I'd like to see that a little higher. Studies show that resistance training, or lifting actual like heavy weights it's all relative. So what's heavy for me will be different for Courtney, and what's heavy for Courtney will be different for everybody else. So lifting heavy weight for you has been shown, if you're doing it correctly, everybody talks about how they do cardio for fat loss. That's actually not the prime exercise for fat loss. It's actually resistance training. So there's a lot of benefits to resistance training that kind of fly under the radar because cardio steals everybody's thunder. But needless to say, off my little soapbox there. So at least 2 days per week of actual weight training, lifting some heavy weights and testing those muscles out. Intensity, so scale of 0 to 10, if we can imagine 0 is me sitting on the couch on Sundays watching football doing nothing all day, and then 10 is extreme physical exertion. So keep in mind that 3 to 4 is light, 0 is even lighter. So 5 to 6 is that prime range we're looking at. 7 to 8 is difficult but doable. 9 to 10 is you're kind of rethinking your life choices during your exercise. It's a very tough exercise. So keep it between 5 to 8. The more experienced you are, the higher you can get without being too worried. But we'll have a little questions section at the end. If anybody has questions about how to appropriately push themselves, that's what we're here for. Like, we would love to help you with that. So moving on to time, minimum 20 to 30 minutes, up to 60 minutes per day. You can do more than 60 minutes if you have time for it. I think that's just a good guideline. We'll touch on kind of building an exercise program, or at least having a small strategy moving into that in just a little bit. So I won't go too much into time there, but and then type. So this is often the hardest part for inexperienced people. What the heck do I do in the gym? It's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me, and I've been exercising and lifting for years. So pick 8 to 10 exercises targeted at major muscle groups. If you're new, don't worry about doing all this like isolation training and doing like a bodybuilding program. That's not a great place to start. Truthfully, just getting moving, making sure we're doing a somewhat structured leg day, a somewhat structured arm day, if that's how you want to order things. Just make sure you're hitting major muscle groups, and once again, we'll be happy to answer questions about that. If you're worried about the resistance training, aerobic activities like cardiovascular, treadmill, all that kind of stuff, it won't impose any orthopedic stress. You shouldn't be concerned about like breaking bones or tearing muscles doing anything like that. And then volume here, let me see if I can move this guy. So 150 minutes per week. That's basically just math from our time slide over there. So just make sure we're putting in the time. If you can't set aside 150 minutes per week, then we can discuss time management in the end too. I know everybody's busy, but you have to make time for yourself as well. You're important, and you need to reflect that in what you're doing on a daily basis.
So with that, we can kind of talk about a few different ways to challenge your current fitness routine. So whether you are just starting, or you have been working out, but you're like, man, I'm at a plateau, or I'm bored, or I'm not motivated. I go through those stages like all the time. It's crazy. I have to like switch up my routine all the time. So here are some ways to kind of challenge what you're doing, or maybe, to start. So the first things first is always just set realistic goals for yourself. If your goal is, to lose 300 pounds, like that's a lot of weight. Like, kind of start with maybe like, okay, let's try and lose like 20 pounds. Start small and then gradually build up. Or, if you're doing those like couch to 5K, like don't go couch to like triathlon. Like that's a great place that's a great goal to do, but kind of just start small so that way it's realistic. And we can kind of touch on they're called SMART goals, and there's different acronyms for them, but it's one way to set goals and like have a realistic time frame for that. So that's the biggest thing. The second thing is to increase the intensity of your own program. So how to increase intensity would be like, shortening your rest times. If you're already working out, like shorten them so that way you keep your heart rate up. Maybe increase the volume that you're doing. So volume is like reps and sets total. So, increase the reps you're doing. If you're only doing 10 repetitions, maybe do 20. Or sets. If you're only doing one set of 10, maybe do 3 sets of 10. Kind of slowly build up just to slowly increase the intensity of your own program. Or if you're not doing any cardio and you're just resistance training, you're only doing biceps and triceps in the gym, maybe add in 10 minutes on the treadmill, like some sprinting, once a week. Kind of just add in little things to slowly increase the intensity of your program, and that'll keep you engaged too. The next thing is to attend a new gym or facility. Or if you're first starting out, just find a gym or facility that offers something that might be motivational for you. So whether that gym or facility has group fitness classes. Like I love group fitness classes. I recently joined like a spin studio just because I love the community and kind of getting pushed. And so, I work out on my own too with Cory, but at the same time, it's like I need that community to kind of keep me going a little bit. The second thing is you can go to like a yoga studio if that's what you're interested in, or maybe a facility that offers not group training, but somewhere that is like more your age group, and they do, some moms meet up, or some, people meet up, and you can meet friends at the gym and kind of keep accountable that way. The next thing is to find a new workout program to follow. Like I mentioned at the beginning, like I'm always kind of switching it up. I try to stick with a program for a couple months, and then once I get bored, then I'm like, okay, I need to find something different. Like I was doing a lot of resistance training, but now I'm kind of switching back to like spin, and like I just started that. And then like CrossFit, I just like started that again. And so that's one way to kind of keep motivated a little bit by always switching it up. And then maybe switch up the time that you go to the gym. If you're an early riser and you are getting tired of waking up early in the morning, then maybe go in the afternoon and see if that's a better time for you. Or, you have kids and you can't go in the afternoon, so maybe wake up early in the morning and just knock it out and get it out of the way. Then you have no excuse at the end of the day, like, well, I have to take the kids to practice or cook dinner or whatever. It's already out of the way. And then the last thing is to ask friends and family to join you on your journey. So if you're alone in this, like one, you're never alone. There's so many people out there who are part of the fitness community that will encourage you, and especially through social media, like people are so awesome, and like influencers on social media, like they're there to encourage you. But if you do have friends and family that are, maybe wanting to start a fitness journey and you're already in it, but you're bored or you're unmotivated, will kind of motivate them, and that'll kind of relight that fire in you. Next, we'll kind of talk about other ways to improve your personal life that can translate into your personal fitness or your fitness life. So going off of what we kind of just talked about with increasing the challenge of your own work routine, but increasing what's called NEAT. It's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And basically what that is so you have your metabolism, and your metabolism is made up of like 5 different parts. One is your exercise, one is just your basal metabolic rate, and that's whatever it is to basically keep you alive, like keep you breathing, keep your heart pumping, the calories that you burn that way. NEAT is also a part of that equation. And so non-exercise activity thermogenesis is all of the energy that you burn through the day that is not exercise related or sleeping or eating, because those are already accounted in the equation. So one thing that you can do to boost your metabolism by not working out or not sleeping or eating is increasing your NEAT. And one way you can do that is, standing instead of walking, or standing instead of sitting all day. Fidgeting counts as like NEAT. So me moving my hands a lot, like I'm burning calories doing that. So here I am all day just moving my hands. But parking further away when you go to the grocery store, going for a little 5-minute walk after you eat dinner. Just like small things add up, just to help kind of increase your metabolism a little bit. The next thing is following a well-rounded nutrition plan full of good micronutrients and macronutrients. So that's the best thing is when you're eating well, like I've never heard somebody say like, oh, I'm eating a lot of vegetables and fruit and meat, and they say, oh, I still feel terrible. A lot of people will feel generally a lot better when they eat healthier because the body just runs more efficiently. And so making those small things can kind of also motivate you in your personal life and fitness life. Maybe your clothes fit looser because you're eating better. Maybe your energy is better. Going to the gym is less of a hassle. Maybe your 10-minute mile is increasing because you're eating better. Just like following a good nutrition plan can kind of help motivate you in other areas of your life because you just feel better about yourself. The last couple of things is developing new habits that add structure to your day. So some things that Cory and I like to do is like we like to read books, kind of like personal development books, or we like following a stretching program, doing things out of the ordinary, like making good habits that we don't normally do. We go to work, we exercise, we go to sleep, but finding other good habits to like kind of develop our personal life kind of translates into our fitness life. We're more motivated, we feel better about ourselves. Like we want to become financially independent. Like, we want to learn other things to kind of help us out on our journey just in life. And that's like, waking up earlier, going to bed earlier, cutting out TV time and making time to work out or read. Because, for 30 minutes, spending 30 minutes scrolling on Instagram, you can go and do a quick 30-minute walk outside instead. So those are just some good things to develop new habits that will, carry over into your personal fitness life too. And then the last thing is develop relationships with those who motivate you. So if you're around people who bring you down or are negative energy, who don't work out, who go out to eat all the time, who drink a lot of alcohol or, anything, like those aren't the people that are really going to help motivate you to go to the gym, right? So having people who, maybe join a running club where all they do is, they meet up, they go for runs, like those are the people that can kind of help motivate you to keep up on your personal journey. It takes only 21 days to build a habit. So you have to make your habits that you're trying to, if it's waking up early, give it 3 weeks. It takes 21 days to build a habit. So just make it, just do it. It sucks at first, but that's how you make those habits, and that's how it becomes a lifestyle in the end, is just keep doing it. Don't give up.
Keep pulling up that thing.
Oh. Just go with this.
Okay, so last slide here before we get to some questions. So basically, hopefully something that everybody was interested here. Oh, I don't even have the thing there. So how to exercise while you're in pain. Everybody seems to think, and there's no reason not to think it, right? Like your body's in pain. Your natural response is, hey, something's wrong. I shouldn't be exercising. That's not always the case. There's so much weird science and strange things behind pain. That's like a whole nother topic. But basically, yes, pain is our body's warning system, but sometimes that warning system is a little bit overactive, and if we can work around it, it can actually decrease that warning system, decrease that pain. So yes, there are times when exercise is contraindicated, but that's very rare, very rare. Even people that are in serious pain after a car accident, we see people like that on a daily basis, and we don't have them on bed rest. We have them doing exercise. We have them doing things. So whether you're like a high level athlete who's in a little bit of pain or in a lot of pain, or you're somebody who's had chronic back pain for the last 40 years and you feel like there's nowhere to start with exercise, there's always somewhere to start, and there's always things we can do to bring exercise down to you. So it starts with decreasing the intensity and overall volume. So we're talking about that moderate to vigorous intensity earlier on that guidelines page. We don't necessarily have to start at 8 on that 1 to 10 scale. We can knock it down to 3 or 4. And then, hey, once you realize this isn't so bad, we can start to ramp it back up. And then volume. If we can't handle 150 minutes a week, or however many minutes that is per day, we can decrease that and build up. Those aren't like these solid rules that everybody needs to follow. Everything can be brought down to you. Modify movement patterns. First of all, learn how to do them correctly. Find somebody, whether it's Courtney or I, or somebody else that's a professional within the fitness realm. If you're having questions on, am I doing this correctly? If you have any question at all, the odds are there's probably something that can be improved. Even we talk about how we are on this fitness journey, but I do stuff wrong all the time. I'm the weird guy who videotapes myself in the gym doing lifts, not so I can share them with my friends, but so I can look at them and make corrections on my lifts and make sure I'm doing things correctly. That being said, if things are too difficult, if there's something that you want to be able to do, but you just can't do it yet, there are stepping stones to get to that. Reduce range of motion of the injured body part. If we're having shoulder pain with motion way up here, we don't have to do things way up there. We can work at a lower level and then work our way back up once we start to feel a little bit better. And then load the tissue in non-painful ways. So oftentimes we'll have if we'll kind of reference shoulder pain again. If it hurts to kind of lift up this way, we don't have to do that. There are other ways to load muscle. We can do isometrics without moving the muscle, but still engaging it. We can do active, like lowering here. It's all the same muscle group. All this stuff might seem overwhelming, but people are here for your help. Like Courtney said, if you're one of those on social media, there are tons of people out there. Make sure you're asking the right people though, because there are a ton of people out there that maybe don't know what they're talking about. But we're happy to help. There are physical therapists all over Las Vegas. There are personal trainers who are very well educated. There's a ton of people out there, a ton of resources. Don't feel like just because things aren't feeling great right now, it's the end of your fitness journey and you're stuck in this weird, yeah, go ahead and leave that. So you're stuck in this weird, painful, like not being able to do much realm. There's a way out of it, and we're happy to help. So what we'll do next is kind of transition to, we'll transition to like a little question and answer here. So we threw a ton of info at you. We thought it would be more helpful doing that than just telling you guys that exercise is great and you should do it. So please, the whole thing was built so you all could ask questions. So go ahead and ask questions if you have any, and we'll be happy to answer. Okay, well, if there's no questions, what we'll do is we'll kind of put our emails out and available for you. I think maybe Velma can do that on another day. But email us questions. We'd be happy to answer anything you guys have. Otherwise, Velma told me how to make a poll for y'all, but I'm not sure how to do it. So let me click around here unless she wants to hop in and help. Let's see.
Oh, there's a chat.
Oh, perfect. So let's see. Velma, if you could chime in. No.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey Velma.
Okay, perfect. So I went ahead and put, if anybody in the participants, yeah, perfect, thank you. I was just about to type in your emails. But yeah, if anybody of the participants has a questions, we can go ahead and put it in there. Jerry says, can we get a copy of the slides?
Sure, we can. Jerry, if you want to throw your email out there, we'd be happy to send them to you.
Yeah, and Jerry, there's also an option when you put in your email, you can just send it to the panelist. I think that's what you did. Sorry.
Yeah.
Perfect, it's on there.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and send that over to you. And you know, I think we'll leave it open if anybody else has any questions. You can always email info@optimalptlv if you have any questions. You can email Courtney and Cory personally as well. I'm sure they are happy to answer the questions that you may have that you don't have can think of right now. I know with a lot of information being thrown, sometimes it's hard to think of a question, and later on, a couple of days, everything kind of assimilates, and you're like, I should have asked that at the webinar, but now you have the contact information. So awesome. I think we're good. Are you guys good?
Good,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See if that email, or I put up the Google Doc for the presentation. Hopefully that worked. If you click it, does it give you direct access to it?
Yeah, let me check it real quick. Ooh, I need access. So if you are signed in, you can go ahead and request access, and that'll link directly to Courtney.
Okay,
and
yeah.
she'll be able to see that.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll do it that way.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, if no one has any questions, we'll hop off here, but definitely feel free to email us with any questions at all.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Cory.
Thank
You guys are
you.
the best. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.